My name is Darcy Stevens. I'm a licensed professional clinical counselor in the states of California and Ohio, a certified drug and alcohol counselor in California, a licensed independent chemical dependency counselor in Ohio, and a national certified counselor with the NBCC. That's a mouthful, I know. Anyways, I'm here today. I want to talk briefly about polyvagal theory by Dr. Stephen Porges. He actually developed this theory a while ago, and I think even though it's not an evidence-based practice, it is still very theoretical, but I do think it has practical application when it comes to doing counseling for people that are struggling with trauma-based issues. So people that have PTSD or any other traumas in their life, and they are struggling with attachment issues in their relationships, trauma triggers, trauma responses. I think the theory can be very helpful understanding what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the polyvagal diagram in the background so we can kind of see what's going on. At the very bottom, you're going to see what is known as the ventral vagal state. That's basically when you're at baseline. Everything's calm. You're able to think clearly. You're able to process information. You're able to regulate, have social connections with other people, and you're basically in a pretty good state. As you get escalated, you get triggered, you're going to get into fight or flight, have those trauma responses of fight or flight. It's in this level where a lot of interventions in terms of coping skills like DBT, self-soothing, distracting activities, those types of coping skills are going to help there. The problem is when we get into that fight or flight situation with our sympathetic nervous system, we're unable to think clearly. If you're trying to do journaling or any sort of self-reflective work, affirmations, those things are going to be a bit of a struggle when you're in a heightened emotional state of fight or flight. If this persists for any length of time, central nervous system is triggered into flight or fight, it could go very much up into a dorsal state where you're going to experience freeze or shutdown. And in that state, it is very difficult to regulate yourself using self-soothing or distracting activities. They're just not going to work. This is where you really have to get into somatic coping skills or things called EMDR, or eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which is an actual counseling technique that many therapists get trained into to be able to help people process through their traumas. The idea with that is that it's basically bilateral stimulation of your brain. So it's working both hemispheres of the brain. It essentially starts to calm you down. That's why this works, is the somatic exercises. A lot of deep breathing, a lot of stretching, or bilateral movements, even bilateral tapping might help calm your central nervous system down to a point where then your other coping skills will be able to be used, managed to calm you down even further back into a ventral vagal state. So the importance here that I want to get across is that you have to match your coping skill with where you're at in the diagram.